Hey everyone, so the topic of today's video is this video that popped up on my YouTube stream from LG for their nanocell, and it's basically just advertising their Alpha 9 Gen 3 AI processing. And in particular I wanted to discuss this particular feature that they're advertising and showing off, which is the face brightening technology that they're introducing. Now this to me is something that I would have actually expected of Samsung. It actually reminds me of the beauty mode that they introduced on some of their smartphone cameras, and it's not something that particularly appeals to me. Now with regards to the AI upscaling, obviously if it's just simple things like in that example where they're just sharpening the text and things like that, then that's fair enough. But when you're actually changing the subject's face, you're basically changing the image that you should have really been seeing. So either the image previously was so badly processed that you weren't actually seeing it correctly, or whatever they're doing now isn't what, as it comes back to that same phrase, the director's intent. This clip here, for example, where they're showing the highlighted hair on this particular subject, the whole image looks a completely different color. This obviously, similarly again, the auto genre selection, that's fair enough. However, when it comes to this particular genre, sports, the way they've literally just boosted the colors, that's the opposite of what you want to do when you're watching these kind of things. This sort of sports mode, boosted colors, vibrant look is only something that really shows off in the showrooms. And this, obviously, coming on to, this was another example. I believe these were actually shown during CES or some of the early events, and it's basically where they've removed the blue tint from that scene. Now presumably that blue tint would have been on that window, because it's trying to show that it's glass, so you're looking through glass. Essentially what I'm trying to get at is, for me, when it comes to video settings and everything, picture settings, I tend to prefer a more natural and realistic kind of tone. And what we're almost seeing from the Gen 3 is they've almost taken it upon themselves to try and determine what is in the scene and basically make it to how they want it to look, and obviously with faces, as you can see from the example here, they're whitewashing the face. It's changing the whole subject. I don't see the need for having to actually do this. Now interestingly, this second loop that you're actually seeing is exactly the same thing but for their OLED TVs. So I find it quite interesting that when it comes to the processing power of these chips, they don't seem to be doing anything differently between nanocell technology and OLED technology. And considering they're very different technologies, I would have thought that they would have wanted to differentiate them and obviously process them independently. Obviously it could just be lazy marketing with them reusing the video, but if you were to just watch these one after another, you'd literally just assume that basically everything that they're doing is exactly the same. Essentially what I wanted to do was just raise a talking point and ask you guys, the viewers, what your thoughts are when it comes to this sort of processing. When you're setting up your TVs, what do you actually prefer? Do you prefer this kind of vivid, overblown, contrasty type of look, which has confused a lot of people into thinking that that's what HDR is? Or do you prefer to actually go with a more natural, realistic image and try and use the built-in, especially on these, obviously when we have the ISF modes, calibrated modes on there, do you tend to use those, or are you still using the sports and games and your standards and vivid modes? Basically it's just a question for you guys. Tell me how you guys prefer your viewing and how you tend to set your TVs up. And those with any of the new TVs that utilize the A9 Gen 3, have you found this new processing to be helpful and do you like it, or is it something that you preferred it didn't have?